spelled it, Macklin Joseph, who was the one who kept the government headquarters grounds beautiful and clean. And he took tremendous pride in doing this. I have I remember two things among others, but I'll speak to two. One, Mr. Speaker, I was Minister for Education at the time. I gave Mr. Joseph to wash my vehicle. I went to cabinet. Next thing I'm hearing, people ask me if I'm okay. I said, I'm in cabinet. He said, no, but we see your vehicle crash. Mr. Joseph, as we say in local parlance, decided to take the vehicle on a P-swept, on a fast ride, and ended up crashing the vehicle in Rosa Valley. And, and unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, his license had expired. So you know what happened to the insurance company. And second thing he always wanted, Mr. Speaker, was to act permanent secretary. I mean, he sent messages to me and he would tell me, Mr. But you're making everybody PS. What about you? I mean, so right there, you know. But and so, Mr. Speaker, I regret that he did not get the opportunity to act permanent secretary. You know, to act permanent secretary. So I remember him very fondly. Very nice guy, very decent gentleman, and who served the country with diligence and dedication. And so we extend sympathies to his family. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to extend my deepest condolences to the family of Mr. Ed. I know the people of Girodel and Eggleston will miss Mr. Ed greatly. He contributed immensely to the twin communities. As Prime Minister rightly said, he cared very deeply about the beautification and cleanliness of the communities, and tourism was very dear to his heart. We had a little joke because I could never spell his surname properly. And he always corrected me on that, and he was somebody who provided advice all the time and recommendations as to how we could improve and develop where tourism is concerned. So on behalf of myself, my family, and the twin communities of Girodel and Eggleston, I'd like to extend my deepest condolences to his family and friends, and just to let them know that we're there with them and they're in our thoughts. Surprisingly, these two people are both in my constituency, Mr. Speaker, and Macklin Joseph was from the community of Kingshill, and I was extremely close to all his children. And when he fell sick, his son called me, very frantic, tell me, "Pa, Rep, call the ambulance, my dad isn't well." And so I was with them throughout, and I believe that everybody who walked through the gates of the government headquarters would have interacted with Marlin. He ensured that people's vehicles were clean. He ensured that the yard was clean. He would give direction. So PM, we probably would have to give him that PS title, probably put it on his coffin. PS McLean. And so on behalf of the people of Kingshill, I want to extend my deepest condolences to the family of Mr. Joseph, and may both of them rest in eternal peace. Thank you, Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I also rise to express my deepest and sincere sympathies to the family of Mr. Gary Ed. Mr. Gary Ed, as the Prime Minister said, was a true patriot of Dominica and a champion of tourism, especially in cruise tourism, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, but also a man of the greatest humility, Mr. Speaker. And I will always fondly remember him because we share the same birthday. So every year, without fail, on my birthday, he sent me a bottle of wine, Mr. Speaker. So he will be greatly missed for his sound advice, for his genuine concern, and true interest in advancing and developing our country. But I know that he'll be very proud of the advancement we are making in terms of the international airport, the cruise terminal, to expand the economy. So may his soul rest in peace. And Mr. Maclin Joseph was really a true hard-working citizen and really landscaped the grounds of the government headquarters beautifully, and also served all of us in washing our vehicles, Mr. Speaker. And you know, when he finished, wash that vehicle, it's sparkling, Mr. Speaker. So may his soul also rest in peace, and I extend my deepest sympathies to his family.
I myself would like to extend deepest sympathies to the families of both Mr. Martin and Mr. Ed. Martin and I grew up in Kings Hill, that some people may not know, from since 1979. So up in Kings Hill, Lower Kings Hill, and both his mom and my mom moved to Upper Kings Hill. So we have known each other from since then, boys' school and in Kings Hill. So I really want to extend this to his family. To Mr. Ed, interestingly, Mr. Ed was not just a businessman. He used to call me Young Isaac because my father and himself played football, and he was a goalkeeper, just like my father. So every time he meet me, he would remind me and ask me questions. When I was Minister of Environment, he would call me directly in regards to the cleanliness of Roseau. So we go way back, so I would like to extend my sympathies to both families.
Of minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the minutes of the meeting of Tuesday, 24th June 2025 be confirmed as circulated.
Seconded, Mr. Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that the minutes of the meeting of Tuesday, 24th June 2025 be confirmed as circulated. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Minutes of the June 25th, 2025 be confirmed as circulated.
Announcement by Speaker.
I received two correspondence seeking permission to be absent from today's meeting. I received the first one is from on behalf of Honorable Miriam Blanchard, who is currently out of state. And the second is from Senator Lorraine Henderson Reed, who is currently dealing with an urgent personal matter. Permission is granted to both honorable members.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table. 1, Proclamation Proroguing Parliament, SRO number 25 of 2025, and 2, Proclamation Reconvening Parliament, SRO number 26 of 2025.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table. Draft estimates of revenue and expenditure for the financial year 2025-2026, debt portfolio review for the fiscal year 2023-2024.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table. Civil Aviation Air Traffic Services Regulation 2024, SRO number 21, 2024. Civil Aviation Regulations 2024, SRO number 22, 2024. Civil Aviation Safety Management Regulations 2024, SRO number 23, 2024. Civil Aviation and Fatigue Management Regulations 2024. Civil Aviation Construction of Instrument Flight Procedures 2024. Civil Aviation Units of Measurement for Air and Ground Operations Regulations 2024. Civil Aviation Aeronautical Search and Rescue Regulations 2024. Civil Aviation Meteorological Services for Air Navigation Regulations 2024, Civil Aviation Certification of Air Navigation Services Regulation 2025, Civil Aviation Aeronautical Information Services Regulation 2025, Civil Aviation Flight Checking Organization Approval Regulations 2025, Civil Aviation Aeronautical Telecommunications Regulations 2025, Civil Aviation Flight Safety Regulations 2024.
Government notices.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice that at a later stage of the proceedings, I will be moving the motion and taking all stages of the bill shortly entitled 2025-2026 Appropriation Act 2025, standing in my name of the order paper.
Statement by ministers. Government business motion.
Your mic. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, other members of this honorable House, distinguished guests, fellow Dominicans at home and abroad, good morning. I rise to deliver the budget address for the 2025-2026 fiscal year. I give thanks to Almighty God for His continued blessings, mercies, and protection over our people and our nation, and His grace, which has sustained us in the face of growing global economic and social challenges. This national budget is built on confidence, grounded in fiscal discipline, and driven by our shared vision for a dynamic Dominica. It is framed within the government's guiding principle of building a resilient nation, as outlined in the National Resilient Development Strategy, Dominica 2030, and presented against a backdrop of sustained gains made possible by a government which has remained steadfast in its commitment to responsible governance, inclusive growth, and dedicated service to our people. Investments in resilient infrastructure, healthcare, digital transformation, housing, education, tourism, and agriculture are now delivering visible, meaningful results, fueling economic recovery, improving livelihoods, and strengthening public and investor confidence. It is within this context that this year's budget has been developed under the theme, Balancing Resilient Development and Fiscal Discipline for Sustainable Growth. Mr. Speaker, building on the work which this government has already started, we remain firm in our mission to strengthen and expand the economy and national infrastructure, protect the environment, and ensure an efficient and transparent public service. We are eternally grateful that in spite of the climatic and global policy uncertainties, the future is promising. This is not a time to retreat or slow down. It is a time to press forward, accelerate progress, and deepen reforms. I will now give an overview of our achievements. Over the past year, present the fiscal year 2025-2026 budget estimates and outline our plans for the year ahead. Macroeconomic performance. Mr. Speaker, the swift escalation of trade tensions and extremely high levels of policy uncertainty are having a significant impact on global economic activity. According to the World Economic Outlook report of April 2025, global growth is estimated at 2.8% in 2025, with projections of 3% for 2026. Growth in advanced economies is projected to be 1.4% in 2025, and in emerging markets and developing economies, growth is expected to slow down to 3.7% in 2025 and 3.9% in 2026. Regionally, economic activity in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union expanded in 2024 by 3.6%, and growth is expected to continue with projections of 3.2% and 3.4% for 2025 and 2026, respectively. I am happy to report, Mr. Speaker, that in keeping with the regional trend, Dominica's real GDP is estimated to have grown by 3.5% in 2024. Mr. Speaker, this growth was fueled by robust wholesale and retail trade, a very ambitious public sector investment program, increase in tourism activity, and growth in agricultural output. The rate of inflation also declined slightly, averaging 3.1% in 2024, down from 3.5% in 2023, due to the easing of food and commodity prices. The current account deficit is estimated to have narrowed by 2% points to 32.2% of GDP in 2024, but remains above its norm due to import-heavy infrastructure projects. Currently, our debt to GDP ratio hovers around 89%. There was a slight decline in government's fiscal position in fiscal year 2024-2025, moving from a primary surplus of 1.5% of GDP in the previous year to a deficit of 0.6%. However, fiscal year 2024-2025 has had the strongest tax revenue performance on record, as well as the high tax arrears collection, a clear sign of the impact of increasing economic activity and improvement in tax administration. There was growth in tax revenue collection, with all the major tax categories surpassing collections of the previous year. VAT has performed exceptionally well, exceeding budget estimates by 3% and surpassing collections for the previous year by $9 million. The VAT now accounts for 41% of total tax revenues. Taxes on incomes and profits also had a strong performance, surpassing budget expectations as well as last year's collections. Non-tax revenue, supported mainly by CBI inflows, grew by 3.1% over that of the previous year. The CBI continues to be a critical source of financing, mainly for capital expenditure, and accounts for roughly 58% of total revenues. Overall, outlays for recurrent expenditure have increased slightly by 1.3%. Expenditure on personal emoluments, as well as transfers and subsidies, registered increases, while interest payments and spending on goods and services declined. It should be noted that total recurrent expenditure fell well within the budget's estimates for this year. Mr. Speaker, fiscal year 2024-2025 saw a notable increase in capital expenditure, equivalent to 31% of GDP, reflecting the ongoing infrastructure development push as government continues to invest heavily in economic infrastructure, resulting in a capital expenditure of $603.5 million. Mr. Speaker, the macroeconomic outlook. With regard to the outlook, growth continues in 2025, with projections at a further 4.2% of GDP by the end of the calendar year, while inflation is projected to stabilize at around 2% broadly aligned with the US price trends. The current account deficit is forecasted to narrow to its historical norm of 15 to 16% of GDP by 2027-2028. The fiscal operations for budget year 2025-2026 are projected to yield a primary surplus of 1% of GDP, as strong revenue growth is expected to offset increases in both recurrent and capital expenditures. Further expansion in tax revenue will persist throughout the year, with all major tax categories growing by an average of 4.5%. Improvements are also expected in non-tax revenue as CBI inflows remain elevated. Mr. Speaker, expenditure growth for this fiscal year is fueled by 9.6% increase in capital expenditure over the actual capital expenditure for last fiscal year. As a result, the capital expenditure is now equivalent to 32% of GDP. Recurrent expenditure is expected to grow by 7.6% over actual expenditure for last year, and 0.1% of last year's estimates driven by allocations for personal emoluments. The outlook for the 2026-2027 and 2027-2028 fiscal years suggests further improvements in the fiscal balances as revenues continue to grow in line with projected economic expansion and total expenditures levels out. Mr. Speaker, risks to the outlook remain active as ongoing geopolitical tensions could disrupt Dominica's tourism, trade, and external competitiveness. Extreme climate events could severely damage infrastructure and compromise growth. Furthermore, domestic risks such as fiscal underperformance and lower than expected CBI inflows could jeopardize the completion of key infrastructure projects with knock-off effects to growth and debt. On the other hand, Mr. Speaker, better than expected dividends from construction of the international airport and the marina, commissioning of the new geothermal energy plant, or higher growth in advanced economies could pose upside risks to the outlook. Additionally, the implementation of the Fiscal Responsibility Framework in 2026, the creation of a debt repayment fund, that's DRF, and the establishment of the Vulnerable Risk and Resilience Fund, VRF, will help in maintaining a sound fiscal position.